Welcome to At the Table. We are glad you are here. Where is the mic? I should have asked you right there.
It's straight ahead.
Yeah,
Hey,
Right where it always is.
Good to see you guys. Well, that doesn't mean I know, though. Just because you do it the same way all the time, you couldn't expect me to actually notice that.
Well, sorry.
Here we are at the table again. My brothers from other mothers, and we are excited today because today we're starting a new study.
yes, we are.
So I don't know how many weeks we spent in Psalms 91, but it was a lot, right?
Yeah, it
It's
was.
a good bit.
Yeah, like a long chunk of time. And that was in a chapter. Now we're talking about biting off a book. So there's who knows how
Yeah.
long we will be in this book. And if we'll take breaks in the middle of it to study a little something and come back to it, or who knows. I was telling these guys that I taught a series on Song of Solomon, a 20-part series, like, I don't know, 6 years ago, something like that. I love this book so much. But I didn't teach this series because I had I have got my own original revelation for the first time. I never even knew the value of this book until I heard a guy named Mike Bickle
Yep.
teaching on it. Probably the early 2000s, I'm thinking, when I first heard him teach on Song of Solomon. And I am not over exaggerating to say it changed my life.
Yeah.
For real. Total paradigm shift in my heart with the Lord through this book. So it is one of the most loved books of my life. I absolutely love it, and I'm looking forward to actually digging into it with these guys today. At my right hand,
Always at the right hand.
TJ. TJ's at my right hand.
Might as well get him a multicolored coat while we're at it too.
I think I will actually. I think I'm gonna get him
this
a
is a
multi.
good idea.
I think I'm gonna get him a multicolored coat. He'd look good in it, I think. You having dreams?
Yeah, it's good.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
That's what I thought. You see these two bowing down, and me, right?
Him mainly.
Oh,
You see him point? Look at that. And I want you to know I have not responded.
I want to see if the older brother syndrome kicks in here. I'm just watching. I'm waiting to see what happens.
I might have a knife in my office.
If
Sacrifice.
TJ isn't here next week, we'll know.
We'll know what happens, right?
Thank
We'll
goodness.
know what happens.
Come with the robe.
Hot up here? Is it just me?
We actually all love each other, and we love the scripture. We love the word, and we actually get jazzed about this time because we get to spend time hearing each other's perspective, and we don't like prep for this like ahead of time. You talk about this, I'll talk about that. We are hearing for the first time from each other what we think about Song of Solomon, and we're going to be specifically in chapter 1, verses 1 and 2. I will just quickly intro. In fact, let's do this. Let's pray first. Lord, thank you for this opportunity to come to your word.
Yes.
We love your word. Oh my gosh, I just can't even wait to get into this afternoon because it's so good. It's so rich, and there's so much depth in this book, and even in just these 2 verses we're going to look at today. So Lord, I thank you and praise you that you lead and guide not only us, but every other person that's with us at the table right now that's going to be making comments about what you speak to them. It's not just about us hearing from each other at this table. It's about all of us gathering around the table together and people being able to make comments about what the Lord is showing them. So, Father, thank you for leading us. In Jesus' name, amen. So I am going to just quickly introduce Song of Songs, and then I'm going to toss it around the room for commentary around the table for commentary. Again, from you as well that are with us. You're seated right here. This seat is reserved for you. And you're at this table with us right now, and so we're looking for what the Lord speaks to you. But Song of Solomon, of course, and it's also called Song of Songs, written by Solomon. And it's called Song of Songs because it is the greatest of all songs. It's like that's as they looked at this book, rabbis looked at this book and they would study it, and they were like, this is not only a Song of Solomon, but it is the song of all songs, which I would think would make Solomon happy because his dad wrote a bunch of psalms, but then Solomon can go, yeah, but then the number one hit, I got the number one hit, Dad, the song of all songs, as it's called in Scripture. Some of your translations will say that. They'll say Song of Songs instead of Song of Solomon. Solomon's the author, and it does have literal meaning, like there really was a literal person that Solomon was in love with, and he was writing a literal love poem to her. So there's different angles we could take with this. We could talk about it in Love and Marriage, and I've seen Song of Solomon used that way.
Yeah.
And we could talk about it in that respect. It would be good. Like, what does it look like for pure love, physical love, in a healthy relationship? What does that look like? And so it's valuable for that. Believe it or not, I actually remember my dad talking about that when I was a teenager. Like he was reading some book called Solomon on Sex, and I was like, oh no. In fact, I was a little scared to read the book.
You said the S word.
I know, I did. I sure did. And I think we need to say it. Well, a little bit too much Gilbertos. A little too much Gilbertos.
Fire on that.
I think we need to say the S word more, is
Yeah,
what I was
maybe,
going to
maybe.
say. We need to talk about sex in a healthy way.
That's good.
And so, my dad had been reading that book, and I remember thinking, man, I try to read it, and I'm like, whoa, I don't know. I better not read through this book. There's some stuff in here I shouldn't be seeing. Or I'd be thinking, what does this gal look like? She's got a nose like the Tower of Lebanon and a belly like a heap of wheat. What does this woman really look like? I can remember having all those thoughts. You guys, I know I'm not alone, right?
Totally.
But when I heard Mike teach on it, and I began to understand the greatest revelation that can come from this book, is when we understand it as a revelation of the love that Jesus has for his bride. Like the Jews would say, God and his people. And as believers, we would say there's a revelation of the love relationship of Jesus with his bride. And man, when I started seeing that, it unlocked not only the book, but the greater thing that happened for me is it unlocked my heart. So that's kind of just a short introduction to Song of Songs, but we're gonna go verse 1 and verse 2. In fact, I'll read it and then I'm gonna toss it to you, Jared.
We've got a few
and we'll come
comments,
around
so
this
just
way.
sit these out there for you, just some good ones. Nicole Wordley says, I'm going to be completely honest, I don't know if I've ever read through this entire book and don't know much about it.
Oh, it's gonna be
You're
good.
gonna love it.
Nicole.
Good.
You're gonna love it.
By the way, for every good thing you hear, give us some hearts, because we like hearts. It lets us know that you're engaged. And
Yeah,
we like engagement.
we love it.
There, we got some
Oh,
hearts.
wow.
TJ's hearting it up over here.
TJ.
For himself. Self-affirmation is really good, TJ.
I need it.
Jolyn,
with you. I'm with you.
Jolyn
I'm
says,
with
favorite book of the Bible, let's go, kiss us, Lord.
Come on, she knows what she's
She knows
talking
what she
about.
doesn't know
That's
what she's
good.
talking
She
about.
knows
We
what
should
she's
probably
talking
get
about.
her up here with us for one of these, actually.
That'd be a good idea. That's a really good
Everybody give us some hearts if you want Jolyn on the stage with us talking about
Come on.
songs.
Good idea.
I think it's a great idea.
All right.
Nicole Worthley says again, I think the reason I never really read it, being honest again here, is because of all the trauma going on with my former marriage for so long. It was just something I ignored, feeling like it didn't necessarily apply.
Wow.
Or it was salt in the wounds kind of.
Woo! Come on, get real.
Good.
Yeah.
It is real.
That's getting real. So we're going to see a whole different interpretation, Nicole. I'm going to read it, and then I'm actually going to toss it, like I was saying, Jared, I'm going to toss it to you, and you can kind of share your thoughts on verses 1 and 2, and then we'll come back this way.
Okay.
How
Are you
about
gonna
that?
toss
The
it to
son
me
of my
first?
right hand will be last. I'll go after him. So I'll read it, though, for context, out of NASB, and then you guys can read whatever translations you want. The Song of Songs, which is Solomon, as we said, may he kiss me with the kisses of his mouth. Where's the social distancing there?
No COVID-19.
For your love is better than wine. Passing it to you,
You're
Jared.
gonna pass it to me.
I know, I started with TJ last week, so I'm starting over there.
Man, there's so much good stuff in this. One of the things in going to Greece, there's a greeting in Greece that they kiss you on the cheek. Now it can be really good or really awkward if you don't know what you're doing. When you accidentally kiss someone on the lips because you went on the wrong cheek the wrong way, and you've accidentally kissed your 60-year-old grandma in Greece.
Oops.
So it can be awkward, but there's this element of the scripture talks about greeting each other with a holy kiss. It's, you know, I think a lot of times when I'm reading the word right now, there's not enough words to express the intimacy that's taking place. Like the psalm doesn't just this song doesn't just actually slowly pull you in. It pulls you in with one of the tightest embraces.
Yeah.
It's like greet each other with a holy hug.
Yeah.
It's like he kisses you with the kisses of his mouth
Come on.
to your mouth. You know? And, you know, like Brent was saying, I think a lot of times, and as we dig through the Song of Solomon, it's been over-sexualized because that's the filters to which we use.
Right.
So every filter that we have when it comes to reading Song of Solomon is actually warped in the context of the way God created intimacy. And it's like you have to get close to him to understand what intimacy truly looks like again. Because if you take it through the lens of what culture has taught us, our over-sexualized culture, that kiss leads to something else.
Yeah.
You know, there's always something that it leads to, or this is what it's about. Instead, it's like if you even study the kiss, like there's a transfer of like pheromones, and there's like this transfer
Wow.
of hormones. I don't know, pheromones is a different word. I'm not a scientist, nor am I a doctor.
You went down that trail, though.
But I did, and I'm not going to stay on it very long. I've learned, don't stay on that one very long. But there's even this physical transfer that takes place. And it's like, how do we get to this place as there's such a level of intimacy? And again, it's closeness. It's like his breath, my breath. It's the breathing in of who he is, at the same time while the embracing of who he is. And it's really coming back to such close intimacy with God. It's like, how do I do that as a man?
Yeah.
How do I kiss the Father? You know? And I could get into the attributes of God and how it's not just man or woman, you know. We could get into some of that. We'd have to like unpack all of that. But that's not even really what it's about. It's this relational connection of intimacy with God. And I'm coming close to him, and I'm feeling the security of who he is. I'm feeling that level of intimacy. My emotions are connected. My physical body is connected. Everything is connected with who he is. And it's just, let me kiss you with the kisses of your word. Which word is like, word is not the Bible. I know it's going to sound really heretical when I say that. The word is the Bible, but the words is the Bible. It's his words that he's kissing you with. So he's kissing you with the truth of who he is.
Yeah.
He's kissing you with his identity. He's kissing you with his character. He's kissing you, and he's speaking those things over you in that embrace. So that's my first thoughts.
That's good. That's good. You want to share, Ryan?
Yeah. So I like that there's kind of two parts to this second verse. It says, let him kiss, in mine, the NIV, it says, let him kiss me with the kisses of his mouth, for your love is more delightful than wine. And I like that it starts out where she's going, or we're going, let there be no resistance between me and you right now. Just come on, let it hit me, lay it on me.
Yeah.
Because she says, your love is more delightful than wine. It's like she's tasted basically everything else in life that's supposed to be satisfying and supposed to be good. And she's found his word, or just the love of God, like so much greater than anything out there.
Yeah.
And so I know there's this tendency as people, and maybe even more Midwest people, probably just people in general, to work and to get accolades, or to work to feel like we've accomplished something, or to work to like have our lives count. And you know, you even see that in Christianity. It's even in the prayer movement. Okay, well, I prayed for 4 hours today. I prayed for 8 hours today.
Yeah.
I went on this outreach to this farthest place from the United States. I went here, and I told this many people. You know, there's just this duty and this responsibility that we've learned somewhere in our culture. Like that's where so many people have found their identity. And I myself as a young Christian, I found myself right there, like just trying to work for God. And then I was introduced to Mike Bickle and his study on the Song of Songs. I think it was 16 studies in 2003 or whatever. And man, it just began to wreck me to realize that we don't have to do anything for God. He did not place us on the earth to go around sharing, and praying as much as we can. We are here to know Him deeply, to know His love that He has for us, to be intimate with Him, to hear His voice. And like so many times when the Lord speaks to us, He speaks to us as the lover or as a child. And so it's amazing how that paradigm shift will just begin to melt your heart, change your mindset, make you want to be with the Lord. You know, it's not like, oh man, I gotta go pray. It's like, oh, God is so good. Why would I resist? You know, that's why it's just like, come on, just let Him. It's so good. But probably part of that let Him kiss me is that there's this natural resistance that we just kind of fall into. But that when we encounter God, it just wrecks us. So I love this book. I love that we're diving into it.
Yeah, you said that, like,
I'm excited about it.
You just said something that caught my attention. It's like that apprehension.
Yeah.
It's like if you don't have the right perspective of God, there's an awkward apprehension.
Yeah.
So if you don't know Him as a lover,
Yep.
and you know Him as a like a tyrant of a father, why would you want to embrace the tyrant father?
Yeah.
It's like Nicole's saying here about how this book will heal you.
Yeah.
Or not Nicole. Jolin's actually talking to Nicole in the comments, and it's like there's this element that if you don't understand the Father, even coming back to that element, like as a man, if you don't have this understanding of revelation of the Father, how do you embrace something without that?
Yeah.
With that distance and lean in.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, that's good.
Something that's helped me too is what you've mentioned a lot, Jared, about the beloved John just laying on Jesus' bosom. Like that can be looked at pretty sensually and not very masculine, but yet there are two men who had very pure intentions. John had the purest intentions. He just wanted to be so close to Jesus.
Yes.
He didn't care how weird it looked or how weird it sounded.
Yes.
And I think that's where, as men, we just got to get there. Like, we are the bride of Christ. I don't care how
That's right.
weird that looks or how weird it sounds
That's right.
or how
Ladies,
not
your
masculine or feminine, how feminine that sounds. I don't care. Like, this is the greatest love story
good.
ever, and we're the bride.
Yes.
So, I'm in.
Ladies, your sons. Sorry, I interrupted.
No, dude, you're good.
Ladies, your sons, and guys, we're part of the bride. Let's get over it.
That's right.
Right? All right, TJ, the son of my right hand.
I love it when you do that.
I need a fan.
You need a fan.
Go get the grapes.
Oh man, so it's interesting digging into this this book, just because honestly the stream of Christianity I grew up in, we didn't dig into this.
Right.
It was something that that was similar to how like parents don't talk about their intimacy with each other in front of their kids. Like, kids, you don't read Song of Songs either. Like, that was kind of how it went.
Except
And
every kid in church was trying to read it.
Yeah.
Right, because you're not supposed to.
But you're not supposed to.
Right. Yeah. So it was one of those things where to be honest, I steered clear a little bit. I didn't necessarily dig in, and I think that, and this is just being vulnerable, I think I have a lack of understanding of true intimacy, just like you were talking about, Jared, because I haven't.
Yeah.
And we were talking about this kind of leading up to this week, and you had said that Mike Bickle's teaching had changed your life, and then you said it, and you, of course, love Mike Bickle as well, and I was like, okay, fine. I am just going to go start this. So I actually did. I started this journey this morning.
Good for you,
And now Mike Bickle has 3 sessions on verse 2. 3 40-minute sessions on verse 2.
Yeah.
I made it through
Good it is.
one this morning. But just the
It's so
idea of like of being able, he talks about how there's 3 different kisses in the Bible. There's the kiss of the servant to the feet, there's the kiss of the cheek to the friend, and there's the kiss on the mouth to the spouse. And I was just trying to think into the most intimate places of my life so far, and just trying to take that a step further and what that means to be as close to the Father's heart as I possibly can imagine, and just abiding in that. I love that word from John 14, and just like 15, I'm sorry. So just abiding in it and just soaking it in. We had I mentioned it yesterday in the staff prayer and prayer and worship too. Like God, I had this vision of God like sinking into a hot bath to our worship.
That was so good.
And there's an intimacy there, right? And just like getting to this understanding that we serve the Father through our worship and our adoration and what that looks like. And just to begin this journey and to learn, I'm just pumped to sit here and listen.
Yeah.
Like I'm just really excited to have this conversation. So
The thing I would say too, TJ, is that I love that you're at the table. I love hearing from these 2 guys who've been soaking in Song of Solomon probably just as long as I have. But I also know that this is going to be so fresh from you.
Yeah.
That there are things that God's going to speak through you that are going to be fresh and new to me. So I am fully excited about, and just even your revelation and vision that God gave you yesterday. You know, I'm just as excited, and seriously, about hearing what God shows you through this journey, because it'll be fresh food for me. So I don't ever look at, like, I do value, you know, if I'm coming around somebody who's, like if Mike Bickle was at the table, I would be like, tell me more, right? So I do value like somebody who has the years of seasoning, but I also highly value just that fresh, like, encounter that you're having with God right now in Song of Songs. And I know you're going to bring stuff to me that I need. For me, when I think about these first 2 verses, they just, I love them. Like you, Jared, the whole kissing on the cheek thing in other cultures. I can remember being in Romania. In one church we were at, there was a line of 50 people or more, at least, that kiss, one after another, and that's not our culture, right?
No.
Kissing people on the cheek, and I learned how to do it without messing up. You do enough kisses, you get it down, right? But then there was this one guy that he came up, and we're going to do the kiss thing, but he takes my head, right, in his hands, and he pulls me in. I'm like, no, I'm turning my cheek. And he's like, he was old, and he was gruff and all scraggly and stinky, and he was pulling me in for the mouth, man, and I was fighting it with everything I had. Why? Because that is like reserved, right?
Yeah.
You don't just get my mouth. Like, I'll give you my cheek, but you don't just get my mouth. I'm like, that guy was like way into my bubble. And I still don't know what his motives are. You know, I have no idea where this guy was coming from. He may have had the purest of motives. He may have just been like, I was so moved by tonight, I just got to kiss you on the mouth. All I know is I fought it every moment of the way. It was like, this does not work for me, bro. and I was fine with all the other cheek kisses. But, man, it is so intimate. A kiss on the mouth. I mean, there's very few people in my life. Very few. And it does not include you 3.
Thank you,
There are
Jesus.
very few people
I was just
that
thinking,
I'm
I wonder how we
okay.
could get into your office and give you a kiss on the lips.
Ain't happening.
I'm good.
It ain't happening.
I mean, I wasn't thinking about
Just-
doing it. I was just thinking about
But there are, you know, my wife is like, I love her kisses. Like, and even I think of Rick Pino's song, I love your face. Think about this. He sings this in worship to Jesus. I love your kisses. There's a guy who's got the Song of Songs, right? He's got it. Like, he sings it out in worship. But I love Tana's kisses, and that's a husband and wife, and the beauty of that. I love my grandbabies. Oh, I don't care if it is Jada or Harper or Court.
Come on.
I'll take a big old smooch on the mouth anytime from those
Yes.
kids. Not necessarily will they from me all the time, right? But I'll take a kiss on the mouth from my grandbaby. But that's, it's pretty, maybe my mom, maybe. That's it. That's it. It ain't going any further than that.
Yeah.
Because it's so intimate.
Yeah.
But when I heard Mike Bickle open this up, what you mentioned the term actually, Jared, kiss me with the kisses of your word. When I heard him say that for the first time, it just came alive on the inside of me. Like, yes, like it made me think of Jesus when he says, it's not by bread alone, but by every word that proceeds. Present tense. That's where you're talking, Jared. It's not just the Bible. It's what he is highlighting from the Bible. It's what he's speaking to me personally. It's a vision of a hot tub. It's whatever the words of his mouth. Let him kiss me. The nearness. Come as near to me as you want, God. That's what I think when I say this verse. Come as near to me as you want. Kiss me with the kisses of your word, for your love is better than wine. When I think about that part of the passage, I think about, wine, and I'm not, again, this isn't original to me. This is stuff that when I first heard it, it just came alive to me. But wine can go two ways. I don't personally drink at all, but some people do, and they enjoy a good wine. And they're like, man, the finest wine would be, even at the wedding of Jesus, of Cana of Galilee, like the finest wine is, and Jesus reserved for last. And yet, even the finest wine, let's say the greatest holy, let's even call it a best experience that you could have in life, even if you want to call it holy. The most incredible encounter that you could have in life, the best experience you could have, does not have anything negative sin attached to it. His love's better than that.
Yeah.
Like whatever thing that you've had, that you've experienced, that I've experienced, that's been something good.
Come on.
Like it isn't even bad, it's something good. But no matter, even let's include my wife's kisses, which I love so much. His love's better than that.
Yeah.
My wife would be upset if I didn't say that. His love is better than that.
Right.
But let's go negative with it. Like, let's say wine in the context of overindulgence in wine, right? And so we're talking about alcoholism, which is the pain of that, the struggle, reaching out to wine as a way to make me feel better. Like reaching into anything. It could be wine, it could be sex, it could be I need Ryan to think good about me, and so I'm looking to him to be my identity. So let's call it sin, right? Like, and let's even call it pleasurable sin. Like if sin wasn't pleasure, we wouldn't do it, right?
Sure.
Let's even call it pleasurable sin.
Yeah.
So his love is the only thing powerful enough. Here's the way Mike says it. It takes the superior power of love to break the inferior power of sin.
Yeah.
It's the superior power of love. Now let's say it differently. He says the superior pleasure.
Yeah.
It's the pleasure of his love. It takes a superior pleasure of his love to break the inferior pleasures of sin. So that's the only thing powerful enough to do it. In other words, I can't break sin by I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to drink too much. I'm not going to look at that. I'm not going to look to Ryan. To be my source. I'm not going to do those things. I'm not going to. No. I'm not going to. The words of men don't matter to me. No. Anytime I do that, all I do is end up going that direction. But when I'm consumed with the superior pleasures of his love,
I was sharing that with somebody this morning, talking about the tree of life and the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. And we're always afraid of doing something wrong. So we always try to live life not falling into sin. And so it was like the original intention of the garden is that Adam and Eve didn't know anything wrong. They only knew what was right.
Yeah.
And it's that you learn to live so much in the right that you don't even understand what wrong is anymore.
Yeah.
It's this whole philosophical difference towards sin. It's like, let's find 10 ways not to sin. And so then we get upset every time we fail because we missed 1 in 5.
Yeah.
And those are our consistent misses. And a lot of times the consistent misses are because we don't understand the love of the Father.
Yeah.
It's living so much in the right that I've created, all my habits become so much in the right of life that I don't even worry about living in the wrong. that when I fall out of the right, I know when I'm wrong. I'm sure there's a better way to say that, but there's this element of I'm living so much in intimacy with God that anything that breaks my relationship with Him and breaks His heart, I know it in the moment. You know,
Yeah.
I don't go into hiding,
It's good.
or all of a sudden Adam and Eve knew they were naked. Before they didn't know, they were completely naked,
Uncovered.
uncovered. And the moment they got into the wrong is when they found out what wasn't right, but it really was right.
Yeah.
Because they were supposed to live naked.
Yeah.
You know? I'm not saying
That's
we all
good.
need to live naked or anything like that. But there's just this element of when I learn to just live in the Father's heart, it's like I start living in the right.
That's good.
The tree of life. I start living in life, living in the fullness of God. It's just, and then when you fall out of it, and you feel the distance and the lack of pleasure,
Yeah.
then you know something's not right,
Yeah.
Yeah.
and you come back to life.
It's
So
it's that whole thing, the superior pleasure of true love. The love of Jesus is the only thing powerful enough to break the inferior pleasure
Yeah.
of sin. Sam Storm has a book, The Pleasures of Loving God, I think it's called. It's really good. And it's all about how Christians have made a big deal about, they Christians need to get away from love and pleasure. Because of the verse in Timothy, lovers of pleasure rather than lovers of God.
Yeah.
But that's not the kind of pleasure he's talking about has nothing to do with this pleasure. We were created for pleasure.
Yes.
That's the thing. It's like we were created to be fascinated.
Yes.
We were created to be loved. We were created for pleasure. We were created for encounter. And when we go for the counterfeit, the only reason we do is because we're not experiencing in the moment the superior pleasures of being loved by God.
Yes.
The kisses of His Word.
Yes.
And we could all
Yeah.
preach on this all day.
And then when you get
So
all of
good.
this and you understand what it means to live from life and intimacy, instead of seeing the faults as other people and distance, you aren't so focused on their faults and their weaknesses. You're
Right.
focused on what brings them life.
Yeah.
Right.
Because you know how the lover loves you.
Yeah.
And
that's
He doesn't
it.
love you in the distance that you have in your sin. He loves you in the way He's created you.
Yeah.
You know, on YouTube, Jackie Hirschberger says, "This is the kiss that brought Adam to life."
Yeah,
The
come
creation.
on. That's it.
The
Yeah.
kiss, the breath that brings us to live or brings us to life. And then I asked the question, "What's your favorite theme from Song of Songs?" And Erica Geary, hopefully I got that right, says
You did.
adoration. Must be one of TJ's friends. You got
Yeah.
friends that come on here. I like it.
She's out in
and
Colorado.
Colorado. Somebody said hi from Shadron, Nebraska too. Did
What's
I get
their
that
name?
right? Cashron, whatever.
Shattering.
Shadron, whatever y'all say.
Chadron, not
It's like people when they come to Pennsylvania. It's Reading, isn't it? We're in Reading, Pennsylvania.
Reading.
It's like
Reading.
Pierre. Hey, you been to Pierre, South
Y'all
Dakota?
been to Lancaster? No, it's Lancaster.
You've been to
Come on.
Sioux Falls.
Sihanouk?
I got that the other day. I had a lady on the phone. She's like, what city is it? It's not Sioux Falls, it's Sioux Falls. Well, that's what I was thinking. Anyway, we asked the question too. We'll go back to it here. What is God speaking to you from Song of Songs 1:1-2? Nicole Worthley says, I love the word smother
Yeah.
in the Passion Translation, as it speaks to being completely enveloped, surrendered, and covered by passionate love.
Yeah, come on.
Yeah, I relate a lot with you right there, Nicole. It brought me to hiding underneath His wings.
Oh yeah.
And just that, I think what I was, the feeling, the picture I was getting was that is such an intimate spot.
Yeah.
Like underneath the wing is like letting you in. Like if I were to let somebody that I didn't trust or was against me underneath my wing, they could very easily kill me.
Yeah.
Like that's such a vulnerable spot.
What did Judas
Yeah.
betray
That's
Jesus
good.
with?
Kiss.
Yeah.
So
Talk
like,
about intimacy. you
yeah,
know?
it's just so good to think about that intimacy. That's what God's talking about coming into with us.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was reading out of the Passion Translation as well, Nicole, and I'll read the whole thing real quick. just so we all have it here. But let him smother me with kisses, his spirit kiss divine.
Come on.
So kind are your caresses, I drink them in like the sweetest wine.
Yes.
Come on, that sounds like a song.
That is so good. So good.
Seriously, you know you've got this revelation when you sing, "He is jealous for me, loves like," you know, you get to that part, you say, "A sloppy wet kiss."
Yeah.
If you don't, if you say
You don't sing it like that, you
cherished
are wrong.
embrace, if you sing cherished embrace, you just haven't read Song of Solomon yet, right?
Yeah.
You're
So
like
good.
sloppy wet kiss.
You
That's
just
the
had to pull that out, didn't
yes,
you? You
that's
just
the
had
one
to go
right
after
there.
that one.
Sloppy wet kiss in my heart. You know, that's where it's at right there in the sloppy wet kiss of God.
Which that song was actually birthed out of John Mark McMillan's "A Death of a Best Friend."
Yeah. Yeah,
The
no kidding.
intimacy that comes from that song
And that
is
song
just
is
insane.
amazing, isn't it?
So good.
Well, we probably should land this plane. We're at about 1:37. Any more comments that we have from folks? I hate to not crash the plane. We're so accustomed to crashing it.
Yeah, weird.
Crash the plane.
So as we get ready to wrap it up, just want to tell you guys again, we're going to be live and in person right here in this sanctuary, like less than 2 weeks from now. In fact, in 2 days from now, it'll be a week from now that we begin our 50 hours of praying in the Spirit.
Oh, yeah.
So like that Friday,
Which, are you going to do FaceTime Friday live?
I'm doing FaceTime
There you
in
go.
the house.
There's a rumor that somebody might be here at 6 a.m. Friday morning,
I
too.
heard that. There's some others that were kind of speaking
Still a
about
rumor.
possibly doing some other worship live too. We'll see.
Jeremy
But-
Iverson.
Yeah, we don't want to.
So anybody wants to just text him and tell him he needs to do it.
Yeah, hearts if you want
Hearts
Jeremy
if you want
Iverson.
Jeremy Iverson to do a little set during 50
A
hours
set
of
during
prayer.
50. Yep.
Hearts if you want Elizabeth Ennals to do one.
Come
Hearts
on.
if you want Julie to do one.
Yep, keep them going for all
Keep
of our
'em
worship
going.
leaders,
Shoot them
right?
a text.
Say, please lead a set of worship. So we know there'll be one at Friday night though at 6 o'clock. So we're excited about that, and there might be one Friday morning at 6 a.m. We'll see about that. But keep your eyes peeled for that. We're gonna. I think we already sent out a sign-up sheet in our email yesterday. Is that right?
Yes, we did.
So you can click on that, sign up for a time. We'll be live in the sanctuary praying for 50 straight hours. Ryan's gonna be here all night, Friday night, all night
Come
long.
join me.
All night. He's gonna be here all night long. So, and then we'll be that whole time. You'll be able to come and pray and worship, and then that Sunday morning is our first Sunday to be together again. We're so excited about it. We'll be greeting you here with our masks on, so that we're being sensitive
Greet
to.
you with a holy kiss.
Yeah, we'll greet you with a holy mask. We'll greet you with a holy
I think
mask.
we need to get masks with lips on them.
There you go. There you go. So, but for real, we want to honor you and make this a safe place for you to feel comfortable coming back in. And we'll encourage people to be socially distant. You have every right to let somebody know you're not interested in a hug. Even if it's not COVID quarantine, you don't have to be hugged. But just,
Yes.
you don't have to, like, I'm going to hug you no matter what. Well, that may not mean so much to a person that doesn't want to be hugged, right? So we're going to be respectful of people, but we're not going to police. We're not going to run around trying to see how far people are apart from each other. We're just going to encourage social distancing, and there will be kids' church. But you want to tell us about the nursery?
Yeah, so we're gonna have our 3-year-olds through 5th graders in kids' church, but the nursery is not gonna be open. So just bring your little ones into the sanctuary.
Yep.
So
We're going to do what we're able to do
Yeah.
right now. So, yeah. And we will still have the kids pray, but it won't be by laying hands on people. Ryan's going to lead them. They're going to, we talked about being up here stretching their hands
Yeah.
out. Whatever Ryan feels led to do, we'll just have ways to keep them plugged in and involved. And so we're excited to welcome you back. It's going to be an awesome weekend. Looking forward to it, guys. Until then, we will still be online. We'll be right here. Be here again.
Back
on
again tomorrow at 11 a.m.
Worship the Word tomorrow.
Yes.
John chapter 15.
Still
We're gonna
soaking in that.
abide and Song of Songs, and we probably won't do Song of Songs, but I'm sure it'll come into the
I bet
conversation.
it will.
Yeah. I'm telling you, ever since I've heard that, it's almost always somewhere underneath what I'm thinking. It's so woven into my life, that Song of Songs, that it's somewhere in the midst of how I think all the time, because it changed how I think.
Yeah.
So it's good stuff. Thank you guys for hanging out with us. We love you guys,
Yeah,
and
love you guys.
see you online and soon to see you in person.
Yeah.